In this video, we're given a problem to solve related to a triangle. So what we know about this triangle is two sides, 20 and 10, and only a relationship between the angles opposite this side. So this is alpha, and they tell us this is alpha plus 20. Now, because the sides are opposite these angles, we are perhaps tempted to start with the sine law. So the sine law, the sine of this alpha divided by the side opposite. Let's start by sine alpha divided by the opposite side 10 is equal to, let's go here, this is alpha plus 20. So sine alpha plus 20 degrees over the opposite side, which is 20. Now, when we look at this equation, it's an equation with one unknown, alpha. So normally, we should be able to solve it. Good. Let's do the cross product here. Let's do this, multiply this, equal to this, multiply this. So start with 10 sine alpha plus 20 degrees is equal to 20 divided by the sine of alpha. Now, we're going to look at the formula that gives us the sine alpha plus 20. The sine alpha plus 20 is equal to the sine of alpha cosine 20 plus cosine alpha sine 20. This is the formula for the sine of the sum of two angles. So let's go and put, now before we do this, let's divide by 10, yeah? Divide here by 10, divide here by 10. That gives me sine alpha plus 20 degrees equal to 2 sine alpha here. Good. So now we substitute this by this expression. That gives me sine alpha cosine 20 degrees plus cosine alpha sine 20 degrees equal to 2 sine alpha. Okay, good. So let's write it as an algebraic expression by simple substitution. So let t equal sine alpha. Now, we have sine alpha, but also cosine alpha. Sine alpha is very simple, cosine alpha now. We know the relationship between the cosine square plus the sine square of any angle is equal to 1. When we solve for cosine alpha, it's going to be plus or minus the square root of 1 minus sine square alpha. Good. Now this is a triangle, so we are going to take the positive solution, of course. Now, so t equals sine alpha, cosine alpha is equal to 1 minus sine square. That gives me the square root of 1 plus t squared. So let's go back to our equation and make the substitution. Cosine 20 multiplied by t, sine alpha, yeah? And then sine 20, I'm working here now, and then the cosine alpha, it's the square root 1 minus t squared. And then here it's 2 sine alpha, 2t. Now there is a square root. So let's isolate the term with the square root, because it will be easier to deal with this equation. So let's keep the side here. So sine 20 degrees, square root of 1 minus t squared, and then the other side we put the terms in t, 2t minus cosine 20 degrees t. Okay, now let's put the t as a factor here, 2 minus cosine 20 degrees. Good. Now let's square both sides. Yeah, we square this side is equal to the square of this side. That will give me 1 minus t squared, the square root will simplify, and then sine square of 20 degrees. The other side is this square, which gives me the t square. And then let's do the square of this here. that gives me 4 plus cosine square of 20 degrees minus 4 cosine 20 degrees. So our equation has the t square only. Let's put them together. Now we expand this. That gives me sine square 20 degrees minus t square sine square 20 degrees. The other side, it's let's keep it as it is, factored form, because there are some simplifications that will go into here for cosine 20 degrees. Good. Now, this side, this term here, let's put it on the other side. So that will give me sine square of 20 degrees, this side, and then the other side with t square factored in as a factor 4 plus cosine square 20 degrees minus 4 cosine 20 degrees. Now, when we move this one here, it will be plus sine square 20 degrees, and then the t square is already factored. Now, this plus this give me 1. This is the identity that we know. So sine square 20 degrees is equal to t square 4. Now this and this gives me 1 cosine square plus 1 plus 4, that gives me 5 minus 4 cosine 20 degrees, and then t square is equal to sine square 20 degrees divided by 5 minus 4 cosine 20 degrees, and t, which is the sine of alpha, is equal to the sine square 20 degrees. Hang on, we need the square root now. We're going to take the square root of both sides. Yeah, we take the square root of this side, it gives me t. Now the square root of this here, it simplifies. The denominator, we will have the square root of 5 minus 4 cosine of 20 degrees. And alpha is equal to the arcsine. The arcsine of all this expression here. Sine 20 degrees, square root 5 minus 4 cosine 20 degrees. Now we need a calculator. Now using a calculator, this gives 17.9 degrees rounded to the nearest tenth of a degree. Okay, good. So now we go and find the angles. So angle A is equal to alpha equals 17.9 degrees. Angle C is equal to alpha plus 20 degrees. That gives me 37.9 degrees. And then angle B is calculated as 180 degrees minus A plus C. Now taking the calculator, yeah, this gives 124.2 degrees. 124.2 degrees. Now we need to find the side AC. Let's call it B. So again, we use the sine rule. So sine the angle B, which is 124.2 over B. So let's go here. This is 100. Hang on. So the sine of 124.2, we know this, degrees, over B, the unknown, is equal to sine alpha, which is 17.9 degrees, divided by the opposite side. So I'm using the sine law again one more time to find the B. Now B will be equal to 10 sine 124.2 degrees divided by the sine of 17.9 degrees. Yeah, that gives B approximately equal to 26.9 rounded to the nearest tenth of a unit.